Alex Foster wiped sweat from his brow as he stared at the holographic model spinning above his workstation. The blue light cast shadows across his tired face. For 3 days straight, he had worked on this new subspace field theory. His fingers tapped quickly on the projected keyboard, making small adjustments to his calculations. "Still playing with your toys, Foster?" Alex didn't need to look up to know who owned that smug voice. Chief Engineer Drell stood in the doorway of the lab, his 4 eyes blinking in sequence, a sign of amusement among his species. Behind him, 2 junior engineers snickered. "It's not a toy, sir," Alex replied, keeping his tone respectful despite the knot forming in his stomach. "This model shows how we might reduce energy consumption by 40% while increasing warp field stability." Drell walked closer, his tall frame towering over Alex's workstation. The alien skin shimmered with iridescent scales that humans often found beautiful. Alex just found them intimidating. "Humans," Drell said with a dismissive wave of his 6-fingered hand. "Always thinking you can break the laws of physics with, what do you call it? Gut feelings." The junior engineers laughed louder this time. Alex felt his cheeks burn, but kept his eyes on his work. "The math checks out, sir, if you just look at. I don't need to waste my time on primitive human thinking." Drell cut him off. "The galactic fleet has used the same propulsion technology for 200 years. It was perfected long before your species even left your solar system." Alex bit his tongue. The fleet's technology wasn't perfect. Far from it. The latest starships were burning through engine cores twice as fast as the older models. Nobody wanted to admit there was a problem. "There's a budget meeting in 10 minutes, Drell added, already turning to leave. "Director Mull wants all project leads present." Alex's heart sank. Budget meetings lately meant only one thing: cuts. The meeting room buzzed with nervous energy. 12 project leaders from across the R&D division sat around a large oval table. Alex was the only human. Director Mull, a small alien with gray skin and large, sad eyes, stood at the head of the table. "The engine crisis has affected all fleet operations. We must reduce our research spending by 30%. Murmurs filled the room. Alex gripped his data pad tightly. "I've reviewed all current projects," Mull continued. "Some will be suspended immediately." Drell looked directly at Alex with a smirk. "Foster's subspace manipulation research will be the first cut," Mull announced. "The resources will be redistributed to more promising projects." Alex stood up. "Director, please. My work addresses the very problem we're facing with the engines. If you just—" "The decision is final," Mull said firmly. "Your workspace will be reassigned by tomorrow." Drell didn't hide his satisfaction. "Perhaps you could assist in testing the sewage recycling systems. That might suit human capabilities better." The room erupted in laughter. Alex looked around at the faces of his colleagues. Not one showed sympathy. 3 years of work. Gone. Alex placed his badge on the table. The metallic clunk silenced the room. "Keep the recycling job," he said quietly. "I quit." He walked out with his head high, ignoring Drell's mocking voice behind him. In his quarters, Alex packed his personal items and downloaded his research notes, the ones he'd developed on his own time, that the fleet had no claim to. As he boarded the transport shuttle leaving the fleet research station, Alex made himself a promise. They thought his ideas were worthless. He would prove them wrong. They would all see what primitive human thinking could really do. The abandoned orbital station hung silently against the backdrop of stars, its once gleaming hull now dull with space dust. To most, it looked like junk waiting to be scrapped. To Alex Foster, it looked like freedom. "Well, it's not much, but it's mine," Alex said to himself as he guided his small transport ship into the docking bay. The station had cost him every credit he had saved during his years with the fleet. The seller had laughed when Alex made the offer, probably thinking the human was a fool. Maybe he was right. Alex's boots echoed on the metal floor as he stepped into the main corridor. Emergency lights cast an eerie red glow. The air smelled stale but breathable. "Hello," Alex called out. "Station control." A flickering hologram appeared before him, startling Alex. It was an old maintenance AI interface, showing a humanoid figure with visible pixelation around the edges. "Welcome aboard Station D17, the hologram said in a voice that crackled with digital static. "I am Maintenance Unit RST-7. How may I assist you?" Alex smiled. "Hello, RST-7. I'm Alex, the new owner." The hologram tilted its head. "New owner? That is unexpected. My last update was 6.3 years ago. You may call me Rusty, if you prefer. Previous crews did." "Rusty it is," Alex replied, feeling less alone already. "Let's see what we're working with." Over the next few weeks, Alex transformed the station's largest cargo hold into a workshop. Equipment salvaged from junkyards and second-hand dealers filled the space. It wasn't the cutting-edge technology he'd had access to at the fleet, but Alex made it work. Rusty proved invaluable, despite the AI's outdated programming. The maintenance unit knew every bolt and panel of the station and helped Alex restore power to all sections. "Your energy consumption patterns suggest you are building something unconventional," Rusty observed one day as Alex worked on a complex set of field coils. Alex wiped grease from his hands. "That obvious, huh? It's a new kind of propulsion system, something the experts say can't be done." "I find that humans often accomplish what experts claim is impossible," Rusty replied. Alex grinned. "I hope you're right." Days turned into weeks, weeks into months. Alex's beard grew long, and his clothes became stained with machine oil. But the prototype took shape, a gleaming assembly of coils, conduits, and crystals unlike anything in current use. "The Foster drive," Alex said proudly, standing back to admire his work. "What do you think, Rusty?" The hologram circled the device. "It does not match any known propulsion configuration in my database." "That's the point," Alex replied. "It doesn't manipulate subspace the way conventional drives do. Instead, it creates a resonance field that harmonizes with existing subspace structures. Like playing a musical note that matches the natural frequency of a glass," Rusty suggested. Alex pointed at the AI. "Exactly. When the glass vibrates in response, it requires minimal energy to sustain the vibration," Rusty finished. "And that's how we'll achieve efficiency levels the fleet can only dream about," Alex said, patting the device. The test day arrived. Alex had converted an old probe into a test vehicle for his miniature drive. His hands trembled slightly as he made the final connections. "Diagnostic check complete," Rusty announced. "All systems functioning within parameters." Alex took a deep breath. "Here goes everything." He pressed the activation sequence. For a moment, nothing happened. Then the probe lifted gently, surrounded by a shimmering field that wasn't quite like anything Alex had seen before. It moved smoothly across the workshop, leaving a strange ripple in the air behind it. The monitoring equipment suddenly lit up with warnings. "Energy signature detected," Rusty announced. "Unusual pattern. It appears to be propagating beyond the station." Alex's eyes widened. "That shouldn't be happening. Shut it down." But it was too late. The Foster drive had announced itself to the galaxy. 3 days after the test, Alex was elbow-deep in drive components when Rusty's hologram flickered urgently into existence. "Alex, a ship is approaching. Military configuration." Alex's heart sank. "How did they find us so quickly?" "The energy signature from your test was distinctive," Rusty replied. "I am detecting communication attempts." The workshop's old comm system crackled to life. "Station D17, this is the Galactic Fleet Vessel Sentinel. Prepare for boarding." Alex wiped his hands on a rag and straightened his stained jumpsuit. "No point running. Let them dock, Rusty, but activate Privacy Protocol 7 on all my research files." The station shuddered as the military vessel connected to the main airlock. Alex waited, arms crossed, as the door cycled open. 4 armed guards entered first, followed by a familiar figure that made Alex's stomach tighten. "Chief Engineer Drell," Alex said coldly. What a surprise. Drell's scales glinted under the station lights. Behind him stood a fleet admiral and 2 science officers. "Foster," Drell said, not bothering to hide his contempt. "Playing with dangerous technology in this jump keep." The admiral stepped forward. "Mr. Foster, I'm Admiral Pike. 3 days ago, our monitoring stations detected an unusual energy signature originating from this location. Care to explain?" "Just a small experiment," Alex replied with forced casualness. "Nothing dangerous." "We'll be the judge of that," the admiral said. "We need to inspect your work and any results." Alex shook his head. "This is private property. You have no jurisdiction here." Drell snorted. "You think your little human laws matter when galactic security is at stake." One of the science officers whispered something to the admiral, who nodded. "Mr. Foster, we can do this the easy way, or we can impound this entire station." Before Alex could respond, alarms blared throughout the station. "Warning," Rusty announced. "Unknown vessel approaching at high speed. Weapons systems active." The admiral looked alarmed. "That's not one of ours." On the monitoring screen, a sleek black ship appeared, moving fast toward the station. "Pirates," Drell spat, "or corporate spies. Your energy signature attracted more than just our attention. Human." The station rocked violently as something hit it. "They're attempting to breach the lower hull," Rusty reported. "Your choice, Foster," the admiral said urgently. "Come with us now, or take your chances with them." Alex hesitated. Then a new voice cut through the chaos. "Station D-17, this is Captain Talia Reed of the independent vessel Starstrider. We're picking up multiple hostiles converging on your position. Need an exit strategy." Alex grabbed the comm. "Who are you?" "Someone who doesn't like the fleet or pirates. Make your choice fast, engineer. My ship has room for you and your work, but my patience is limited." Admiral Pike reached for the comm, but Alex pulled it away. "How do I know I can trust you?" Alex asked. "You don't," Talia replied frankly. "But I've got a score to settle with Drell and his kind. They pushed me out of the fleet 3 years ago for asking too many questions about their precious engine program." Alex's eyes widened. That was the same time the engine problems had started. Another explosion rocked the station. "Hull breach in Section 4, Rusty announced. Alex made his decision. "Rusty, initiate evacuation protocol. Transfer your core to my portable unit." "You can't seriously," Drell began. "Watch me," Alex interrupted. He turned to the comm. "Captain Reed, I need 5 minutes to secure my prototype." "You've got 3, she replied. "Docking at emergency port B." As the fleet personnel argued among themselves, Alex slipped away through a maintenance tunnel, the core of the Foster drive tucked under his arm and Rusty's memory unit in his pocket. Behind him, the only home he'd known for months became a battleground. Ahead, an unknown future waited at emergency port B. The Starstrider broke orbit just as 2 more ships appeared on the scanner. Captain Talia Reed's hands flew across the controls, her face set in grim determination. "Hold on," she warned, punching the engine to full power. Alex gripped his seat as the ship lurched forward, the stars outside stretching into lines. In his lap sat the portable unit containing Rusty's core and a bag holding the heart of the Foster drive. When they were safely away, Alex finally got a good look at his rescuer. Captain Reed was tall and lean, with short gray hair and a scar running down one side of her face. Her ship was small but well maintained, the bridge barely big enough for 3 people. "Thank you," Alex said, "but why help me?" Talia kept her eyes on the controls. "Word gets around. Human engineer quits fleet after being laughed out of the room. Sane engineer buys old station, then creates energy signature never seen before." She glanced at him. "I hate bullies, and love underdogs. I'm not sure that's worth risking your ship and crew." Talia laughed. "Crew? It's just me and this rust bucket." She patted the console affectionately. "And now you and whatever tech you've got that has both the fleet and the Black Sun Consortium hunting you." Alex's eyes widened. "The Black Sun? They're the ones who attacked the station." "Yep. Galaxy's biggest tech thieves." Talia turned in her seat. "So what exactly did you build, Foster?" Alex hesitated, then opened his bag to show her the core components. "It's a new kind of drive. It doesn't force its way through subspace like conventional engines. It harmonizes with it." Talia studied the device. "And that's what made the energy signature." Alex nodded. "It works. At least, the small version does. But to really prove it, I need to build a full-size engine." "Which needs a ship," Talia finished for him. "A big one." Talia was quiet for a moment. Then she smiled. "I might know just the ship, and some people who could help." The ship turned out to be the Improbable, an ancient cargo hauler rusting in an asteroid belt salvage yard. Its previous owner had died owing money to the wrong people, and the yard owner was happy to sell it cheap. "You've got to be kidding," Alex said, staring at the massive, dilapidated vessel through the viewport of Talia's ship. "She's ugly, but her bones are good," Talia replied. "And she's big enough for your drive. And expensive enough to bankrupt us both." Talia grinned. "That's where my contacts come in." Over the next few days, people began to arrive. First came Mac, a burly mechanic who'd been blacklisted by the fleet for creative modifications to military vessels. Then came the Vex twins, Ren and Jin, electronics experts who could make any system talk to any other system. Last came Dora, a quiet woman with quick hands who could fabricate almost anything from raw materials. "Why are they helping?" Alex asked Talia as they watched the crew begin clearing debris from the Improbable's engine room. "Everyone here has a score to settle with the fleet, the consortium, or both," Talia explained. "And they all believe in the impossible." With Rusty installed in the Improbable's aging computer systems, work progressed quickly. The AI coordinated efforts across the huge ship, while Alex focused on scaling up his drive. Resources were tight. Sometimes parts failed, forcing the team to improvise. What they couldn't buy, they built. What they couldn't build, they stole. "This housing won't hold," Mac said one day, examining a crucial drive component. "We need trialloy, not this cheap substitute." "Trialloy costs more than this whole ship," Ren pointed out. Alex studied the problem. "What if we layer thin sheets of standard alloy and treat them with Dora's plasma technique? The molecular bonding might give us similar properties." Mac looked skeptical, but willing to try. That became their pattern. Problem, improvisation, solution. Each obstacle forced Alex to refine his design, making it simpler, more elegant, more powerful. 3 months later, as Alex connected the final power coupling, he realized something important. The Foster drive was no longer just his creation. It belonged to all of them. "Will it work?" Talia asked, standing behind him. Alex closed the access panel. "Only one way to find out." "Galactic Fleet alert to all vessels," the comm system blared. "Unauthorized propulsion testing is strictly prohibited in all regulated sectors. Violations will result in immediate impoundment." Talia switched off the message with a disgusted flick. "Third warning today. They know we're up to something." The bridge of the Improbable hummed with nervous energy. After 6 months of work, the ship was ready, or as ready as it would ever be. Its hull was still patched in places, and some systems ran on jury-rigged components, but the Foster drive sat complete in the engine room. "They're scanning every ship that moves," Mac reported from his station. "We'll never get clearance to launch." Alex studied the navigation display. "What about Gardner's Gap?" "The old space dock there was abandoned after the meteor strike." "That's in quarantine zone," Jin objected. "No one goes there." "Exactly," Alex replied. No fleet patrols either. Talia leaned forward, examining the location. It could work. The radiation levels have dropped enough to be safe for short periods. She looked at each crew member. But if something goes wrong, we're on our own. We've been on our own from the start, Ren said with a shrug. Dora, who rarely spoke, nodded firmly. Let's do it. 2 days later, the improbable drifted silently through the debris field surrounding Gardner's Gap. The massive space dock loomed ahead, its structure still largely intact despite the damage from the meteor impact years before. Power at minimum, Talia ordered. Passive sensors only. Rusty's voice came through the ship's speakers. I am detecting no active scanning in our vicinity. The radiation appears to be masking our signature effectively. Maneuvering thrusters eased the bulky cargo hauler into the space dock's embrace. Metal groaned as docking clamps, unused for years, engaged with the Improbable's hull. Docking complete, Rusty announced. We are secure. Alex released a breath he hadn't realized he was holding. Now for the hard part. In the engine room, final preparations began. The Foster drive pulsed with a soft blue light as systems came online one by one. Primary field coils at optimal temperature, Jin reported. Resonance crystals aligned and stable, added Ren. Alex worked at the main control panel, fingers dancing across the interface. This was the moment everything had been building toward. The moment he would prove his theories correct. Drive is ready, he announced. Beginning startup sequence. The ship vibrated gently as energy flowed into the drive. On the bridge, Talia kept a wary eye on the sensors. Still clear, she confirmed via comm. No sign of fleet activity. In the engine room, the blue glow intensified. Alex watched the readings climb steadily toward the activation threshold. Approaching critical resonance in 3, 2, 1. A violent shudder ran through the ship. Warning lights flashed across control panels. Field stability dropping. Ren shouted over the sudden wail of alarms. Power fluctuation in the primary matrix, Jin added. Containment failing. Alex's heart raced as he scanned the readings. Everything had tested perfectly. What was happening? Rusty, analysis, he demanded. The field harmonics are misaligned. The AI responded calmly. The theoretical models did not account for the mass variation of the full-size vessel. Another shudder, stronger than the first. A conduit blew out overhead, showering sparks. Shut it down, Mac yelled through the comm. We can't, Alex replied, fingers flying across the controls. The process has gone too far. If we stop now, the backlash could tear the ship apart. The engine room lights flickered as power drained into the increasingly unstable drive. Alex studied the chaotic readings, looking for a pattern. It's trying to find the resonance point, he muttered, but it can't stabilize. A moment of clarity struck him. The drive wasn't failing. It was searching. The theoretical calculations were correct, but the real-world application needed something more. Against all safety protocols, Alex reached for the manual control rod buried deep in the drive housing. What are you doing? Mac shouted. Trusting my gut, Alex replied. With a single fluid motion, he adjusted the rod precisely 3 degrees. For a heartbeat, nothing happened. Then the blue light turned brilliant white, and the Improbable vanished from normal space. Silence filled the engine room. The alarms had stopped, replaced by an eerie quiet broken only by the soft hum of the Foster drive. The white glow had settled into a steady pulse, bathing everything in gentle light. Status report, Alex called out, his voice sounding strange in the unusual stillness. No one answered immediately. Alex looked around to find Ren and Jin staring out the viewport, their faces frozen in expressions of wonder. Alex, Ren whispered, you need to see this. Alex moved to the viewport and felt his breath catch. Outside wasn't the normal starfield he expected. Instead, streams of blue-white light flowed past the ship like luminous rivers. Occasionally, Normal space seemed to peek through in brief windows, showing unfamiliar star patterns that quickly disappeared again. The comm system crackled. "Engine room, this is the bridge." Talia's voice sounded tense. "What exactly did you do down there?" I adjusted the resonance manually. Alex replied, still staring outside. "Where are we?" "Unknown," Talia answered. "All navigation systems are confused. According to our sensors, we're simultaneously nowhere and everywhere." "Rusty analysis?" Alex asked. The AI's voice came through with an unusual hint of what sounded like awe. "We appear to be traveling through a subspace layer never before documented. Conventional drives force ships through normal space. Your drive has moved us into a different plane entirely." Alex pressed his hand against the cool glass of the viewport. "We're riding the natural currents of subspace itself." The ship's intercom suddenly burst with excited voices as crew members reported what they were seeing from different parts of the improbable. "The hull integrity is at 100%, despite the stress of transition," reported Mac from engineering. "Power consumption is minimal," added Dora from her monitoring station. "The drive is using less energy now than our life support systems." Alex checked the readings on his console. According to the instruments, they were moving at impossible speeds, yet the ship felt completely stable. "Rusty, how fast are we going?" he asked. "Calculating based on stellar positions glimpsed through the subspace windows," the AI replied. "Approximate velocity is remarkable. We appear to be crossing distances that would take conventional ships months to traverse." Talia's voice cut in. "Alex, I'm picking up a reading I recognize. It's the Centauri beacon. That's more than 30 light years from where we started." Alex's hands trembled as he adjusted controls. "I think I can bring us back to normal space." Everyone braced for transition. With careful movements, he reduced power to the drive. The white light dimmed slightly, and the flowing rivers outside began to slow. Transition in 3, 2, 1. The ship shuddered once, gently, and the strange lightscape outside vanished, replaced by a normal starfield centered on the brilliant blue-white star of Alpha Centauri. For a moment, no one spoke. Then the bridge erupted in cheers that echoed throughout the ship. "We did it," Talia breathed. "Alex, do you know what this means?" Alex nodded, struggling to process the implications himself. "We just rewrote the rules of space travel." The ship's sensors began collecting data at maximum capacity, recording everything about their position, the condition of the ship, and the Foster drive's performance. "The drive collected incredible readings during transit," Rusty reported. "The data suggests new understandings of subspace structure that contradict accepted theories." "How much did we record?" Alex asked. "More new information about subspace than has been gathered in the last century of conventional travel." Talia appeared at the engine room door, her face flushed with excitement. "The navigation system confirms it. We traveled 34 light years in less than 15 minutes." Alex sat down heavily on a nearby crate as the reality sank in. The Foster drive hadn't just created a faster ship, it had opened a window to a completely new understanding of physics. "We need to test it again," he said finally. "Make sure it wasn't a fluke." Talia grinned. "Where to next?" Alex looked at the star map displaying their current position, then at the team that had made the impossible happen. "Home," he decided. "Let's show them what primitive human thinking can really do." News of the Improbable's achievement spread across the galaxy faster than even the Foster drive could travel. Despite attempts by both the Galactic Fleet and the Black Sun Consortium to suppress the information, too many independent sensors had tracked the ship's impossible journey. "They're calling it the Foster effect," Talia said, handing Alex a datapad with news feeds from a dozen worlds. "You're famous." Alex scrolled through the reports with disbelief. Just 3 weeks had passed since their test flight, and already scientific communities across the galaxy were buzzing with theories and speculation. "The fleet is demanding we surrender the ship for safety inspections," Mac reported, joining them on the bridge. And the consortium has put a bounty on the drive schematics. Alex nodded, unsurprised. And that's exactly why we're doing this. The plan was bold, perhaps foolish. Instead of hiding, they would make the most public demonstration possible. A direct jump to Central Station, the busiest hub in the galaxy and home of the Galactic Fleet headquarters. Final preparations complete, Rusty announced. The drive modifications are stable. We can make the jump whenever you're ready. In the weeks since the first test, Alex and the crew had refined the Foster drive, making it more reliable and controllable. What had been an accidental discovery was now a precise instrument. All crew to jump stations, Talia ordered. Prepare for transition in 5 minutes. Alex took his place at the drive control panel, now permanently installed on the bridge. Around him, the crew moved with practiced efficiency, their faces showing a mixture of excitement and nervousness. We're being hailed, Jin announced. Fleet Command is ordering us to power down immediately. Put it on screen, Talia replied. The view screen flickered to life, showing the stern face of Admiral Pike. Behind him stood Chief Engineer Drell, his scales dark with anger. Foster, the Admiral began, you are in possession of unauthorized technology. Power down and prepare to be boarded. Alex smiled calmly. I'm afraid we can't do that. Admiral, we're about to make history. You're welcome to watch. He cut the transmission before the Admiral could respond. Transition in 30 seconds, Alex announced. Rusty, begin recording. Make sure every piece of data is broadcasting on all open channels. Broadcasting initiated, the AI confirmed. As Alex activated the drive, the familiar white glow built around the ship. This time, there was no instability, no warnings, just the smooth hum of perfectly balanced technology. Transition complete in 3, 2, 1. The stars outside blurred into rivers of light, and the improbable slipped into subspace. Unlike their first journey, this one was controlled, measured, perfect. Exactly 9 minutes later, the ship emerged in the busy space near Central Station. Alarms immediately sounded as traffic control detected their unexpected arrival. Position confirmed, Rusty reported. We have traveled 457 light-years in 9.2 minutes. On the view screen, dozens of ships scattered in surprise at their sudden appearance. The station's massive form loomed ahead, its docking bays bustling with activity that now froze as attention turned to the unexpected visitor. Transmission from Central Command, Wren announced. They're requesting permission to send a scientific delegation to examine the drive. Requesting, not demanding, Talia noted with satisfaction. That's a first. Alex activated the ship's external communication system, broadcasting on all frequencies. This is Alex Foster of the independent vessel Improbable. What you just witnessed was the first public demonstration of the Foster drive, a technology that will change how we travel among the stars. This technology belongs to no government, no corporation, no single species. It belongs to everyone. Within hours, the first engineers arrived, humans mostly, but also members of other species who had been dismissed or overlooked by the fleet. Alex welcomed them all, sharing data openly and answering questions. 3 days later, a familiar figure appeared at the airlock. Chief Engineer Drell stood awkwardly, his usual arrogance replaced by something that looked almost like humility. The fleet has authorized me to discuss collaboration, he said stiffly. Alex looked at the alien who had once mocked his primitive human thinking, then at the diverse group of brilliant minds already working together on the ship. We're happy to collaborate, Alex replied with a smile. But on equal terms. The era of looking down on anyone's ideas is over. As Drell nodded in reluctant agreement, Alex knew that the Foster drive had done more than revolutionize space travel. It had started to change the very culture of the galaxy itself.